Hi y'all, welcome and welcome back. This video will give you an introduction to formal logic. In this part of the course, we're going to connect our study of ethics to the rules of good reasoning. Whether we're debating laws, policies, or personal choices, logic is the backbone of moral reasoning. Why do we care so much about logic in an ethics course? Because moral reasoning is about more than having opinions. It's about backing them up with strong, well-supported arguments. Good moral thinking has two goals. First, to get it right, and second, to back it up with flawless reasoning. That's why every argument we consider needs to pass two tests. The logic must be error-free, and the premises must avoid false beliefs. Let's start with statements. A statement, sometimes called a claim, is simply an assertion that something is or is not the case. Statements can be either true or false. For example, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius is a statement, and we can check whether it's true. But here's an important point. Statements can never be valid or invalid. Validity is a property of arguments, not individual statements. In philosophy, the building blocks of our arguments, our premises and conclusions, are themselves statements. Here are a few examples of statements. The sky is blue. 2 + 2 = 4. Some dogs are friendly. The capital of France is Paris. Notice that each one can be evaluated as true or false. That's what makes them statements. Now let's turn to arguments. In philosophy, an argument is a set of statements in which some of them, the premises, are meant to support another, the conclusion. Arguments are about structure and reasoning. They can be valid or invalid, sound or unsound, strong or weak, cogent or uncogent. But arguments themselves cannot be true or false because they're collections of statements, not individual claims. Here's a deductive argument. Premise 1, all humans are mortal. Premise 2, Socrates is a human. Conclusion, therefore, Socrates is mortal. If both premises are true, the conclusion must be true. That's deductive reasoning. Now here's an inductive example. Premise 1, most cats are playful. Premise 2, Luna is a cat. Conclusion, therefore, Luna is probably playful. Inductive reasoning doesn't guarantee the conclusion. It makes it likely based on the evidence. So in both cases, whether we're working deductively or inductively, we're still dealing with arguments, sets of statements where the premises are meant to support the conclusion. But notice that the kind of support they offer is different. The deductive argument, the Socrates example, aimed for certainty, while the inductive argument, the cat example, aimed for probability. That difference brings us to the two main types of reasoning, deductive and inductive. Deductive arguments aim for conclusive proof. They usually move from general principles to specific conclusions, what we call a top-down approach. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Inductive arguments, on the other hand, aim for probability. They start from specific observations and work towards general conclusions in a bottom-up approach. Even strong inductive evidence can only make a conclusion likely, not guaranteed. Let's look at each in more detail. One major way arguments fail is through fallacies, or mistakes in reasoning. Formal fallacies are errors in the argument's logical structure, while informal fallacies are errors in the content or assumptions of the argument. A key in deductive reasoning is validity. An argument is valid if and only if the truth of the premises guarantees the truth of the conclusion. It's about structure, not factual truth. We can check for validity in 3 steps. Identify the premises, imagine they're all true, and ask yourself, could the conclusion still be false? If yes, it's invalid. If no, it's valid. Here's an example of an invalid argument. Premise 1, heroin is a drug. Premise 2, selling heroin is illegal. Conclusion, therefore, heroin use is immoral. Even though both premises are true, they don't guarantee the conclusion. We would need another premise, like all illegal acts are immoral, to make the reasoning work. Now here's a valid but unsound argument. Premise 1, John Quincy Adams was either the 8th or 9th U.S. president. Premise 2, he was not the 8th. Conclusion, therefore he was the 9th. The logic is perfect. If the premises were true, the conclusion would have to be true. But since the first premise is false, the argument is unsound. The gold standard in philosophy is the sound argument, one that is both valid and has all true premises. These are the arguments we should accept, and they're the ones we aim to make in our own reasoning. To sum up, in ethics, rigorous logic matters. We need to understand the difference between arguments and statements, learn to spot deductive versus inductive reasoning, recognize the difference between validity and soundness, and always watch for fallacies, both formal and informal. This will make you a sharper thinker and a better moral reasoner. All right, y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos about philosophy and ethics, check out the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.